How would you define love?
Oh my god. Jeez. Just come out with a knife. Um, a balance of compassion, understanding, playfulness, and protection. Okay, that's my answer.
You really sounded like you were trying to remember how to spell a word. Okay, let's see.
I mean, you just literally threw a brick at my face.
F-E. Are there two L's? Is it one?
There are actually three L's. That's unusual. You just threw a brick at me. Let's start with a question. Which baby do you want to save?
Oh,
Which child? Like, somebody's gonna
oh.
be like, "What's the best thing you just ate recently?"
What is the best thing you just ate recently?
Oh God.
See, it's same
No,
weight. It's like,
no, it
huh?
was this French thing that I baked actually, and I actually forgot to post pictures of it on Instagram.
This
Um,
French thing.
yeah, it's like a cake. I can't remember what it's called, like a Breton cake or something like that, a gâteau
Oh,
Breton. And so it's like this really soft, buttery cake, and then in the middle layer, between the two layers of the cake, there's this apricot jam that you put in the middle of it. So I had to make the apricot jam. I made the thing. It was probably one of the best things I've ever eaten. It tasted like a Danish. It was really good. I'm gonna make it again.
I heard ghetto butter cake.
Gâteau, gâteau, gâteau. It's French. Gâteau Breton. It's from the Brittany region of France. Gâteau. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's
Mm,
French for
mm.
cake. It's one of the
Okay.
only things I remember from French class. That and paper towel. Une feuille de papier.
That's so random.
It is. Every time I tear a paper towel, I'll just mumble une feuille de papier. And Jordan will say, "Isn't that French for paper towels?" Like, yep. Every time.
I don't. Comme si, comme ça. Comment allez-vous?
Comme si, comme
Boulanger.
ça. It's comme ça. Comme si, comme ça. You
So
say comme si,
listen.
comme ça.
Ça va? I
Do
my
you even know
language
what it
is
means?
what?
Ça
So
va?
so?
Oh, ça va?
Ça va?
Mm-hmm. I
No,
don't. Okay,
I
me either.
don't. I
All
don't
right.
either. I took French for like 3 months in eighth grade.
Took it for 3 years in high school. I don't remember anything except for paper towel. So we're in the same boat, basically.
I get my Spanish and French mixed up. I will start counting in French and end in Spanish.
It's weird because I can actually read in Spanish okay. For some reason, like I can pick up on the words, and I think maybe it's just because like in California there's so many different like there's
Yeah.
Spanish in so many different places, so I can see how the words sort of compare. But yeah, French.
Spanish absolutely context clues. If I'm reading it, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, he's going on vacation and he needs 3 shirts.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
especially if there's a picture there of the guy standing off like this or something, you know how
I'm
the
talking about without a picture.
I like the pictures, the little watercolor illustrations.
No, the only reason why I knew the only reason why I knew that I was as good as I was is because my niece was doing second grade Spanish homework
Hmm.
and I didn't need to translate it to help her. I was like, "Oh,
Wouldn't it
I
be
know these words."
great if there was second grade Spanish when we were growing up? Like if
Oh my gosh. To be in a bilingual class, listen.
would have been pretty nice. I don't
It,
fault the parents. I
I
don't.
I feel like the schools are doing better, so I have
Yeah,
hope for some of the future, but
some of the future. Good
yeah, some of the
qualifier.
future. Yeah, some of it. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I'm your host, Leah, and this week I am joined by Jason. Welcome to the
What?
show.
He's back. He's back. It's been months. It's been months.
Wow, we haven't recorded together since what, September last year?
Yeah, it probably either right before I interviewed and took the job that I'm in now, or
Hmm.
like the job wasn't even in the picture or whatever. But like, yeah, professor is paused. So
You're Jason. You're you.
I am Jason.
How have things been going?
Good. Mostly good,
That
actually.
deep breath, it sounds like a lot.
No, actually, I'm thinking about it relatively good. Like doing same stuff as like we used to talk about with like figuring out setting boundaries, figuring out like how to rediscover my wants and my needs and stuff. You know, I sound like
Hmm.
a Toni Morrison book or something now. But you know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just like I was telling you earlier, finding ways to figure out things that I've forgotten how to do, basically. Like figuring out how to follow my intuition again. Like I was telling
Right.
you earlier, how I Googled how do you follow your intuition and found a list of questions to remind me of the different feelings in the body that you have. So that's good. Just feeling good about that. Have a nice work life balance, I think. So, you know, can't complain there. The day ends at 5 o'clock on some days, which means my computer closes at 5 o'clock on those days.
I wish I was better at that. I wish I was better at that.
I'm telling you. So, you know how weird my schedule is, where literally every day of the week I end at a different time?
Hmm.
I am not kidding. As soon as the clock hits whatever my end time is, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 5 o'clock, that Chrome browser closes. Like that closes, Outlook closes. I close my laptop for an hour and I step away from it. And then when I come back, I'll just use Safari. So different browsers have helped me set that boundary for myself. Plus, I'm like, okay, I'm not getting paid. So no offense. I love helping the youth
I
and helping people.
mean, it's the truth.
I mean, I didn't build the capitalist society. I'm just living in it. So, right?
Yeah,
How?
I think that it's I think for me is that I don't have, since especially since this place is new, I don't have zones anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to be able to have my bedroom separate from the office,
Mm-hmm.
separate from my relaxation area, separate from my living area, and then my cooking area is separate from all of that. But now I'm in a new space and I don't have a zone set up yet. So I eat, record, work, and cook essentially, and essentially relax and live in the same area. Like I sleep in a different area, but
Yeah.
everything is happening in that same area. So I don't really have a zone where I'm just like, hey, it's 12 o'clock. Have you eaten
Mm-hmm.
lunch? Let's take a break and walk away from the computer for a little bit.
Right.
But I just end up just working all day.
Working, 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 working. Um, you said you are in a new zone. Whatever do you mean, friend?
Nice segue.
How have you been? What's going on with you?
I am so happy to announce that I'm officially in Seattle, and this has been this has been 7 years in the making since the first time you and I have had the conversation of, I think I want to move around the country a little bit, but I want to settle back down on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking
Best
Seattle,
Coast.
and then you said I'm thinking Seattle too, and then we neither one of us had been there before.
Yeah, completely different motivations and reasons and stuff. Mine
Yeah.
was academia, of course, because I was in that space. Yours is just I need to be on the West Coast, and I know I don't want to be in California.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Portland never had like a call to me, and I was just
No,
like, Seattle. Why? I don't know, but I
I
know I
have
need to get there.
no idea why. I don't.
Yeah.
Is it because of the water or something? I guess I was drawn to it because of the proximity to the water, and it was different. Like it's not like San Francisco. I mean, I guess it is like San Francisco in certain respects,
Hmm.
but I like the greenery there. I like how, honestly, I like the idea of it being cold a lot
Hmm.
of the time because it is fairly different from where I am now and where, yeah, where I am now. We'll leave it at that. For you,
It's
what was the allure for you?
I don't for the first 2 years that we were talking about it before we actually planned the trip,
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about Seattle.
Right.
I It was, of course, it was people who had been there once or never went and just said, "Oh, depression is high there,"
Yeah,
or
it rains all the
"It
time. It
rains all the
rains a
time.
lot.
Why would you want to be in the rain?" and all these other things, and they just had all these negative things to say.
Hmm.
And I was just like, "But have you been there?" Well, no. And I was just, I don't know what drew me here, but when we were like, "Hey, we're taking a friend's trip."
Friends trip.
And you, myself, and Jordan got our tickets, got the rental car, hopped on a flight. I came from the East Coast. You all came up from California. And driving through downtown the first time,
Like literally, when we were driving through, we
oh,
were all just looking like, okay, this is not. And then just all the trees on both sides.
oh my
Um,
gosh.
just for context, I live in Sacramento and have been here for almost 13 years. It's not all bad, but it is somewhat not. It's not okay sometimes. Like it's really hot. It's very flat.
Yeah.
The trees, it has a certain feel about it where it doesn't, for me, it doesn't feel like as city of trees like as it could, because that's what their tagline used to be.
Hmm.
Driving through Seattle, it just reminded me of like, and I guess that's why they call it Emerald City, but it reminded me of like Emerald City with the trees and with the hills and everything just sort of cascading. It was more dynamic. That's what really caught my eye the first time we drove on that freeway.
I just I just felt home.
Yeah,
I was just like, I could do this. It was at that point I lived in Texas in a couple places. I lived in Virginia. And one of the first things when I was just like, okay, first of all, let's get socks. When we got to the hotel, I was like, "Yep, we gotta go get some socks because I
yeah,
have no
because she ain't
socks."
packed nothing.
I didn't,
Um,
I didn't, I didn't really pack anything. We went as you all were getting shoes. I was like, "Okay, I'll get socks and I'll have socks."
she's like,
But
oh yeah, you guys need shoes so we can walk. I need socks.
hey, at least I got my sneakers. We ended up
Yeah,
when we came downtown, and it was we were close. Actually, I walked to where we were previously,
when
which
we were
is,
doing the street call thing or whatever, that urban scavenger hunt.
yeah, the urban scavenger hunt.
Hmm.
And it's down near Harbor, so it's a little bit of ways for me. But
Hmm.
walking through there again, and just the shock of sidewalks and people walking on sidewalks coming from the more country or southern areas that people didn't have sidewalks, they drove everywhere. It just blew my mind of how much I missed sidewalks.
Yeah,
And okay, mini rant, because
let's hear it.
I I've had this argument with myself, and people couldn't understand why I was so obsessed with sidewalks. Sidewalks tells you how social, essentially how social a city is. You can drive through a city and essentially see how social it is, how the people move and things like that, because there are sidewalks. With no sidewalks, you don't have public transportation. The infrastructure is not really there. If there is public transportation, not many people are taking it, or it doesn't run as often, i.e. Elk Grove. Anyway, um, and living in Texas, even though people are social when you're inside, it's like, hey, you know how things are going, blah, blah, blah. You get to see how people move with sidewalks. So when I look outside and can see people walking up and down the street, and they're able to get to their destination without needing a car. And even the cars who are driving, even though they're lost because there was a car going the wrong way down a one-way street. And I was just, who's gonna who's gonna tell this person, like, you're going the wrong way? You don't see
Happens
all these cars
at
coming
least
towards
twice
you.
a week when I'm in Midtown in
See,
Sacramento. I'll see two people just going down the wrong way. And I'm just like, okay, you see every other car on this street is facing the other way.
yeah, I
Follow the
know.
traffic. But
And
I'm sorry.
I left my car in Texas because I was like, one, I didn't want to pay $300 a month for parking my car here, but
It's a lot
I
of money.
also wanted to be able to be more active, and knowing that I can get around the city with a bike or a scooter or a bus, which I didn't know they had just piloted that, the
What?
e-bikes and stuff like that, the scooters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They just piloted that for a year and that ended in October. And so they're adding thousands more bikes and
Hmm.
scooters to the program for the city. They said it was like 260,000 people took like 1.4 million rides, and they were
Jeez.
I just read this article, and this is why I know these numbers. But they said that they were worried because of some other areas. People who were fleeing the scene of a crime would take an
Oh,
e-scooter to get away. And I'm just like, hold on.
what?
Who has time to scan their phone?
Just shot Richie,
Who
and you
is
just
how do you what do you like what is
do
I'm
you
just
do it? Do
like,
you set it up beforehand? Does that
right.
add to like premeditation or something?
Like you have to have it set up like before, like, oh, and then if you run out of money on your card, like, how, I don't, I'm just like, but
Oh,
they
because it's
said,
attached to like the transit system, like transit
mhm.
cards. Oh, okay,
So
gotcha.
some of them do have transit cards, but most of them have their own apps. So you have
Oh,
like Lime, I think you can do through
yeah,
Uber. Then there's Spin, there's Wheels, there's
right.
Vivo or Vevo,
Yeah,
Vevo.
I remember that one. I think.
And there's Link. And so most of them have their own apps, or they're through like Uber or Lyft.
Right. I think we
And
had those ones in Sacramento, like the ones through Uber and Lyft,
mhm,
Luber.
Luber.
But but I think they might be coming back. But I think during the pandemic, a lot of them, once everything shut down, the first wave or whatever, a lot of them left the city because they were trying to discourage people from leaving the house and stuff, and people just didn't want to touch stuff after people.
Mm.
But I'm not sure if they're back. I think I've seen a red bike or two. Um,
I haven't seen the Bird one, because Bird was the first one that I saw. And
mhm.
that was in Charlotte. And so I
Okay.
was like, "Oh, are people okay, so that could just be on the East Coast." But I did my first e-scooter from like South Lake Union into downtown, and that was like, first of all, when it's cold outside, just make sure you wear gloves, because that my
Yes.
hands are freezing by the time I
Yeah.
went like 3.5 miles to come back, and whew, my hands were cold. I was like, whew, I gotta
It's
walk
always
this
cold in
off.
Seattle. Are you sure you're gonna move there? No, I'm just kidding.
Ah, it was there were so many. It was crazy how many naysayers there were, but honestly, when I moved here, I didn't think that I was really here. Like, it was kind of surreal.
Yeah. For the
Even the
record,
month.
you
I'm sorry. Go
haven't
ahead.
been back since you haven't been back there since we visited, other than when you visited your sister in Tacoma, right? Like you haven't
Yeah,
been back to Seattle since then.
2017. Yeah, that was the only time that I've
Yeah.
ever come. And then when I came back to move was like 3 weeks ago.
Okay. It's 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem like it.
it doesn't. And it took from the first time we talked about it
Mm-hmm.
to the time we went to visit in 2017, and every day I woke up like, we have to live here. Like, I have to make this happen. I have
Mm-hmm.
to move here. And 5 years from then, it was a work in progress. I really had to like heal from a lot of trauma I had, because
Mm-hmm.
I was not as happy as I wanted to be. I was, well, actually not even as happy. I wasn't as at peace as I wanted to be. So I had to really work on my trauma. I had to work on my emotional well-being, my spiritual well-being. I had to make sure that I was mentally good and things like that. That I was like resilient enough to be able to take this trip
Mm-hmm.
and to be here, because it's another move. But it's been so wild over the last 5 years how much I've grown
Mm-hmm.
to now being able to embrace where I am. So in the month before 2 months before moving, I had to really wrestle with whether or not I really wanted to do it, cuz I wasn't sure.
Right.
I was I knew I wanted to, but there were some parts where I'm like, "Ooh, milk costs how much out there? That's just a half a gallon?"
Welcome back to the West Coast.
Oh, ouch, 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 ouch. Okay, and how much would it be for gas? And this was like, now this is when,
Before the
yeah,
wave
this
happened, before the gas surge happened.
gas was still 297 in Charlotte
Two
when I
ninety
was
seven.
like 297 in Charlotte 2 months ago, and I was just like,
Can't remember the
whoo,
last time it
okay,
was
how much is
97.
gas? And insurance is how much? And how much is gonna be the rent? And I prayed about it. I wrote in my journal. Of course, I'm always writing and want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that I have clear thoughts about what's going on to get rid of the bad thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and really understand that I want this for myself.
Right.
And we looked at a lot of different places
Yeah.
and I was really nervous to take the one that I because it was the first one that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
First one that I was just like really excited about. The other ones I was like, "Ugh,
Yeah, you're kind of
well,
waffling on the other ones.
yeah, I mean, it's great,
Like
but
the
why is it
corridor.
shaped in a circle? Like, I
Remember
don't
the
understand.
yeah, the one that fanned out into each room where it's like you walk in and then it just did this and there's a door
Yes,
there.
I
There's
was
a door
just like,
there.
why are we fanning? What is
What's
this?
the
Why is
point
it
of
shaped
that?
like that? I don't understand. It's thin on this side, so if we ever had like people over and we all had to rush out the door,
That's how you get trampled.
yeah, we're just funnels. Like, why are we funneling? Um, but I'm really when I finally, oh, I mean, I felt it when they when I paid the rent.
She's
They
like,
were
I'm
like,
really
yeah,
here.
so when you come here, make sure you pay this, pay this, pay this, and I was like, oh, okay. But the first day here, in shock, couldn't believe it. Walked around the
Mm-hmm.
city, was just like, I could really walk. This is amazing. Like being able to get around without a car,
Yeah.
awesome. Job is like a mile away, or if I wanted to go into the office, the water is like right there, the market is right there, the museum is right there, the library is like right there. So being able to do pretty much whatever I wanted in the city was amazing. And it wasn't until like day 3 because day 1 and 2, oh my gosh, I'm here. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, is this my view? This is where I live.
I noticed when you called me the first day and even the second day, you were like, okay, I have to do this weekend. I have to go to West Seattle this weekend. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And I'm like, remember, you can pace yourself now because you're there. Like,
Right.
the hardest part of it is over. You have time. And you were like, I do. Like, I actually have time to do stuff. Like, I'm not leaving. Like, this is home. And I think that was one of the things that I'm happy that you did. Like, you paced yourself because I know when you hit the ground, you were like, okay, I want to do it all. And I think it
Right.
was like excitement. Plus, I feel like there was like a certain, almost like a kid like feeling to it, where it's like, okay, this is going to be taken away from me at some point. It's like, no, this isn't going to be taken away from you. Like, you did the work to get yourself here. You're here, so enjoy it, bask in it, love it, take it all in. Right?
Yeah. That kind of hit me that I was here the third day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I woke up and it was just not. I woke up and I just felt the weight of everything. Like I'm really here.
Mm-hmm.
I really decided to like leave my car and
That
move to Seattle.
that is huge for you leaving the car because everywhere you've been on me for years. Like, you gotta get a car, you gotta get a car, you gotta get a car. I've sort of like accepted where I am with why I don't drive and stuff. But I'm like, okay, I like not having a car because it sort of bogs you down in certain ways. And
Yeah.
everywhere that you went, like at one point, you had your car shipped, didn't you?
Yes,
When
I
you
had my
moved
car
once,
shipped to once. I had my car
twice,
shipped to from Texas to Virginia,
right,
from Charlotte to California, California back to
right.
Charlotte. Yeah, I've
When
had
you
my
came
car
out for
shipped
that
quite a bit.
summer,
Yeah, I have my
yeah,
car shipped quite a bit. Um, and it is not cheap,
no, it's not.
but um, this was more of a conscious decision of wanting to be able to be a different version of who I am.
Yeah,
Like, yes, I'm still me and all that kind of stuff, but I wanted to be able to live the city life.
yeah,
Now, mind you, I could absolutely want a car next year
Right.
and, move to the suburbs or whatever, but I really want the experience of living in the city again. I
Yeah.
really want to be that close to the city. But I think that it really hit me on the third day. I just woke up and I was just like, what did I do?
Mhm.
I'm really here. And I think what made it real is the fear of it being taken away.
Mhm.
It was this, and I know there's like conversation on TikTok about the language that we're using surrounding this feeling of out of placeness,
Mhm.
or this feeling of we don't belong in the space we occupy,
Mhm.
instead of using like imposter syndrome or code switching, using double consciousness, because that was coined by W.E.B. Du Bois. But I feel like, or Dubois, Dubois, Du Bois, Du Bois. He said voice, Du Bois. I think it's Du Bois. Okay. Um, my drama teacher would absolutely be like, "Didn't we talk about we did?" And that was years ago. I completely forgot what you, because I typically type his name out. I don't have to say it. But everybody knows who he is, or should know.
Picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah,
That's my corporate lingo. Sorry.
But using the idea of double consciousness and having to um not only occupy a space that you don't think you should be in, or but also excelling in that space, because there's not a lot of people who look like me
Mhm.
in this area, in this building. And at one point I was like, where's the rest of us? And they're like, yeah, you gotta go south. You gotta go south, you gotta go like Bellevue, outside the city.
Mhm.
um and I was just like, oh, okay. But still, I had to really process like that feeling of I'm not worthy of the place that I occupy. I really had to sit with, where are these thoughts coming from?
Mhm.
Are they valid? And what is the truth? And really understanding, okay, you say you're not worthy to be here. You shouldn't be here. What would make you worthy? And really going like, I don't think there's, I mean, no, I just thought that I would be in a different place. Okay, well, what place did you think you would be in?
Mhm.
Like, and I'm like, well, like married with kids and this job, doing this and doing that. Okay, but none of those things will make you more worthy to occupy the space you have now. There is not a title you can have. There's not an experience you could have. There's not a place you can be in. There's always going to be room for growth in some area. So embrace what you have. Nobody's going to come and take it.
Mhm.
And that's when it took me like an hour to like really work through all of that. And then I had to deal with all the emotional good,
Yeah,
because
the
I don't like
purge.
emotions.
Yeah.
Um, I really had to deal with those emotions of, like, no, it's okay to feel out of place sometimes, but knowing that this is your dream and it's happening.
Mhm.
And one of the things you kept saying was, um, how are you going to celebrate? How are you going to mark this moment?
Mhm.
And I was just like, oh, go to West Seattle and go sit at Alki Beach, because I really wanted to go back to the beach
Right.
and have some fish and chips. And I was gonna go, and then it rained, and then I was gonna go, and
Mhm.
I went to sleep, and I was gonna go, and I was like, I don't really feel like I deserve it. But I woke up on Sunday and was just like, no, I'm going to the beach.
Mhm.
And it was fun. It was like 8 hours. I mean, 8 hours, 8 miles of walking.
Mhm.
Once I got there, but it was a really good day, and it made me feel even better about the decision I made, because those are the type of adventures I want to have. I don't
Yeah.
want to go hiking every day. I don't want to have to take the water taxi every day. I don't want to have to walk every day, but knowing that I can,
Yeah.
and that, 4 days out of 7, I'm exploring a new part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's this makes me, I don't even know how to. It's like when people get excited about something they found amazing
Mm-hmm.
and they want everyone else to experience the amazingness.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell everybody, like, whatever your dream is, no matter how big or small, just do it.
Go for it.
Whether it works out or not is not your business.
You won't know
Just
it works
do
out
it.
until you try it. Like,
Yeah, because even if this didn't work, the contacts that I made and the lessons that I've learned, the experiences that I've had to be able to get to this point have all made me better for it.
mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't wasted. And so I would just tell anybody, if you are, really considering something, or you're thinking about a dream, or you can't stop thinking about this one thing, or you're really, looking at the calendar, you're like, someday I'm going to, someday I will, someday I might, do it. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you're just starting the process of putting the plan together, just write some dates down.
Yeah.
Do it. It's like, now that I'm here, it's a no brainer. But I
Right.
feel like I was stuck in analysis paralysis for so long
mm-hmm.
that now that I'm here, I'm just like, what took me so long?
Had to get all your ducks in a row. No, but seriously, you analyzed it for a while, and honestly, to analyze you a little bit, no, this is. I think this is like the most positive I've seen you after a move since.
Ever.
Well, no, not ever. Since you came back to California for that one summer. So this is the most positive and the most like just in a like good space that I've seen you since then. Usually anytime that you've moved there's been like hiccups with either the place or like getting your furniture and stuff or just different interactions or just like the space just doesn't feel how you thought it would feel. Like when you moved to Charlotte, it seemed like things didn't go how you had hoped that they would.
Hmm.
This time, even though there were some things like when you were walking through your space or your place, and we were doing like the mini inspection or whatever, and we were like noting all the different things, you weren't like you were like, oh yeah, they'll fix it, whatever, they'll deal with it, they'll deal with it. But look at this, but look at this. You didn't. You're not ruminating on things.
Yeah.
No, on people maybe, but you're not ruminating on things about like what you're interacting with or what's the space that you're in. You're just sort of rolling with it, and maybe it has something to do with the water, right? You're an Aquarius, so maybe are you Aquarius or Pisces? Because I know you fall right on the
Aquarius.
cusp,
Yeah, I'm right on the cusp, but I'm on the
right?
Aquarius side. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the water, right? You're like maybe you're with the water, and you're like, oh, okay, since I'm close to the water, I'm just going with the flow, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I absolutely feel like that could be it, because it's just like, since, regardless of what it is, I just feel like, no matter if it was a
mm-hmm.
negative interaction or a positive interaction, like, I kind of just now, I'm taking it in stride. I
Yeah,
don't want
it's
to
how you
be
frame it.
hung up. Yeah, I don't want to
It's
be
all
hung
about the
up on
lens.
things all day, all night. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to, um, I want to be able to move forward. I want to be able to enjoy it, and so I'm just trying to embrace it as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
And almost everybody, when they find out that I've moved, they're like, "Oh, where'd you go?" And I'm like, "Seattle." "Oh, do you like it?" This is the best decision I have made in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I can describe this move. I am happy. I'm at peace. Like, I'm just like, I'll just stand and just like look at the water, or I'll just look out at the traffic, or even just sit in my room and read. It is, I'm like, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Question,
I
as my
may have
niece
an
likes to
answer.
do, as my niece likes to do before she asks a question, she always says, "Question: have you celebrated? Have you done what you wanted to do to celebrate?"
I did this Sunday. I went, finally,
Right.
got on the water taxi, got some great shots.
Okay, good. Wait, you did?
little nervous, a little bit nervous about standing by the water's edge again. Um,
Naturally.
because as soon as I sat down, I was like, okay, if this thing goes down, I
I go
can't
down.
see the bottom. Where are the life jackets? Oh, they're in that. Okay. All right. Cool. 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 But being able to like see the city skyline and try out some different things, because even when I was like, man, things are quite a bit more expensive. Like
Right.
an ice cream is like $10, and I was like, hold on,
You
wait, what?
better enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's like, and that's what, and the other thing is like, there's tipping on everything.
Hmm.
Like everything, there is a tip, and I'm just like, y'all, y'all minimum wage is $15. Why is there a tip on
Because the cost of
everything?
living, because the cost of living, the minimum wage should be like $21. So they need tipping to make up the difference.
Oh man, I'm just like
That's another conversation. Sorry.
it is. I'm just like, oh, and so I had to but I think it was coming out of COVID and not having been anywhere in a while.
Yeah.
And then going out and just being like, there's a tip on everything?
It's like,
You
wait a
didn't
minute.
all
I
you did
didn't
was
tip.
bring me my check.
I didn't tip when I made this at home. What is this about?
Right. What's going on here? Um but I was able to do I went out and did exactly what I wanted. I got
Good.
on the water taxi. I went to Alki Beach.
Hmm.
I got to read, randomly walked up on a UW volleyball tournament,
That's how it goes.
and got to sit there and watch them for a little while, and got a little thirsty. Saw some thirst quenchers out there.
For the record, she's talking about the
Mm,
colloquial term for thirsty, which is take that any way you want. She's not
yeah.
talking about water. She's not talking about a dry mouth. She's not talking about feeling parched in the
Yeah.
traditional sense.
There were some thirst quenchers out there though. They were
You know what else
listen,
has thirst quenchers? Thirst quenchers.
who else has them?
Starbucks. Starbucks.
There's a Starbucks. There's not as many Starbucks. Thank God. I thought there were going to be a lot more, but between here and there were only 3 on the way to the water taxi, and then I only saw one when I was walking through Alki Beach.
I have a theory about Starbucks in Seattle. I feel like it's like a locust situation or like a parasite where Starbucks like saturated the market in Seattle at first, and so maybe I don't know how many Starbucks there are in Seattle, so this is just me basing it off of what you just said. But
Let's
I
find
think
out.
they saturated the market in that one area. They ran them dry, and now they dispersed to everywhere else in the world. And so, like, I think there's a Starbucks 5 minutes down the street from us. There's one at the mall, which is 5 minutes away from us in another direction. Then there's one down the street in the other direction, 5 minutes away. So,
There are 133 Starbucks
okay,
in
just
Seattle, Washington.
completely. What about in your radius? Because right now you're just shooting my theory completely out the window, which is fine. Because,
No, I think that Seattle was all about the local like
right.
hops and brew and like and coffee bean. Like they're
That's
all
what I
about local stuff. And
that's what I
so
look forward to with Seattle. Like
yeah,
if
they
even
have
if
they
I
have
visit
their
or
own,
anything,
it's like a
like
big Berkeley. It's well how Berkeley was in the 90s. Let me
okay,
refrain. How
yeah,
Berkeley was in the 90s. I don't know what 2020 or
listen,
even 2010s or
I
even
miss Berkeley though.
2000s. I know early 2000s Berkeley, but I don't know like later 2000s Berkeley.
Yeah, I know
Um
later 2000s Berkeley, like 2010, 2011, 2009 through 2011. I'm familiar with that, but I haven't been to Berkeley in so long. I miss it, but I think Seattle
yeah.
did remind me more of Berkeley than San Francisco, honestly.
Yeah, it's not a
Um,
grid like San Francisco, but it's more quirky like Berkeley.
quirky like Berkeley. Living on a grid is overrated. Sacramento's on a grid. I like it's hard to get lost on a grid, and I
Yeah.
like getting lost to a certain extent.
I like knowing how to get home.
Yeah, as long as that.
Like I know that if I follow the numbers,
Mhm.
I can get back home.
See, I like getting lost.
But if I get lost, I got lost and ended up 5 miles away from my house because I kept going
That's not
straight.
lost. That's like a Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe situation where you end up in a
On
completely
a whole
different
side quest.
world. Right? 5 miles is not getting
I was
lost.
like, I don't think this is, but I refused because the area was like heavily populated, and I had to realize like I don't have to have my guard up as high,
Yeah.
but my guard was up like I was in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like death glare on, like one
What you
earbud
looking at?
in, coat zipped up, backpack
Air
like
Force
no
Ones?
zippers out. No,
Were you
I
wearing the
didn't.
Air Force Ones? Oh, okay.
I didn't even break out my Air Force. I was gonna break out my K Swiss, my all black K Swiss classics, and I was like, nope, not
Just to
this
survey
time.
the area, right?
Yeah,
Just to get a feel
not
for
this
it.
time. But I refused to pull out my GPS,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I feel like if I keep going straight, eventually I'll run into a street I know.
Mm-hmm.
I was too far down to run into any streets that I knew, so I ended up just walking straight to the lake area, Lake Union
Mm-hmm.
area, and I was there, and they have a nicer bar scene. I was like, oh, y'all look my age. This is where I should have been.
Perfect.
Wait a minute. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. You guys are my age. Okay. Cool. Because I was worried because it was a bar and it was teeny boppers. I thought there were teeny boppers there, but no, they look my age because it's like an arcade bar, and I was like,
Family.
oh, look at y'all.
My
Look
peoples.
look at us. Okay. I like that I have been carded almost every time I ask for it. And I don't know if that's just standard, but they kind of look at me suspiciously because typically I'm in like my Monsters Inc. tee or my Scooby Doo hoodie, shout out to Jocelyn, or my yeah, I just don't look mature. I'm like wearing a kid's hoodie. They're like,
You
is that
don't look
Rugrats?
society's mature.
Are you wearing a Rugrats hoodie? I'm
What
like,
what is mature?
uh I mean, it's up for discussion. Obviously,
So
it's
that's
optional.
another conversation. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that at some point.
But yeah, I am excited for what Seattle has to offer, and I am now way more open to embracing
Mm-hmm.
where I am because like I don't know what drew me here. I don't know what the pool was, but now that I'm here, it just feels this is the first time I felt home in a long
Mm-hmm.
time too. And I'm just, even though people are like, oh, they don't really socialize, it's like, look, you get that in every city you move to.
Yeah.
Start joining some groups. If you like to knit, join a knitting group. They have a group for everything. If you like to read, do that. Go to the library, start randomly talking to people. People will talk back,
Yeah.
but there's not a real
If
follow up. But just,
everybody's walking around under the assumption that no one's going to talk to them, no one's going to talk to each other. So is
right.
sort of creating the problem. That's how I see it at least. I
Yeah.
don't talk to people because I don't like talking to people, but you do. So I won't initiate conversation, but I'll keep it going if they start it. But yeah, even when we were in Seattle, I didn't notice like feeling like people didn't want us there or something or didn't want to interact with us.
Yeah.
Like on the water taxi, and even when we were on the shuttle over on West Seattle or at West Seattle, everybody on the bus was talking. Everybody was exchanging information and stuff. Everybody
Yeah.
was sharing tips. That's how we learned about sunfish, right?
Right.
Because the lady on the bus.
She was like, oh, you guys are, oh, have you guys tried this place? I'm like,
It's like,
no.
nope,
Oh,
sure
you should
haven't.
try it.
We're hungry, so why not?
Right. There were so, I mean, I think that because there are a lot of transplants here, and it's not like Austin or Charlotte or there's some other places that I've been to where they're just like they're used to having things their way,
Hmm.
and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's so many people just coming here and changing things up."
Yeah.
I think that Seattle is in a constant state of growth. They never hit like stasis. So there's always a turnover of people who are coming internationally, people who are moving, locally, people who are moving out of state, whatever.
Hmm.
And so they kind of just like Seattle is honestly the most extroverted introverted city I've ever met because everything here they have a lot of different events
Hmm.
for people to socialize, but a lot of people are introverted. It's very interesting.
Yes.
Um,
My people.
but I think that like that's what makes it pretty cool. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that, while I'm here, I just remind myself to embrace what is, and just like be open for the moment.
Yeah. I have an additional question.
Yes.
What might you plan to do this week to celebrate your being there? To keep celebrating it? How will you keep your celebration going?
I
I'm all
think
about
my
celebrating it because we don't celebrate the things that we accomplish. So I'm on you this time. Like white on rice. You celebrate it by going to West Seattle. Love it. That is enough. But I'm like, okay, what else would you want to do to keep it going if you wanted to?
I think I owe it to myself to explore the city, which is something that I didn't do a lot of in other areas. Like I went to a few eateries here
Mm-hmm.
and there, but I didn't go to like live shows that much, or um check out our casino, even though I don't gamble.
Especially not in Charlotte. You didn't
No,
because you weren't
most
in
of most
the
of Charlotte was quarantine.
yeah. Plus you were further out in the suburbs, right? Like you
Right.
weren't really that close to city
Right. Like
center.
there were poetry slams and everything happening downtown or uptown Charlotte, and I never went.
Yeah,
But now it's like I don't really have an excuse. Like things are
yeah.
starting to opening up. A lot of places are mask optional, so there's really no reason to not go.
Mm-hmm.
Still bring a mask in my pocket just in case, because some people be like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any of that.
Why are you
But
sniffling?
but I want to be able to go to live shows. There's a lot of poetry slams out here that I want to go watch to be
Mm-hmm.
inspired by. There's a lot of different events, especially happening at the library, at the museum, at the planetarium. Um, the only thing that I thought about was like, man, I wonder if they have it drive-in movies. And I was like, wait, why would I go to a drive-in movie if I don't have a car? So now I got to go make friends to see if we're
How
going to a
would you go to a
drive-in movie.
drive-in movie if you don't have a car?
I don't know why that was a thing, but I get the itch every so often to go to a drive-in movie, and sometimes there's one around, sometimes there's not, but it'll work itself out. But
Yeah.
but I think that a way for me to keep the celebration going, or to keep the spark going, and
Mm-hmm.
enjoying and embracing where I am, is just essentially to keep exploring,
Yeah.
keep learning. There's always like I was like, well, I always end up going right. Let me go left now,
Mm-hmm.
or let me see what's in the Queen Anne area, or let me go visit the Sodo area, or and they're like, oh, it's kind of dicey down there, and I was like, listen, I
Define
walked I
dicey.
walked through there. I'm not saying that I will walk through there at night, but I was okay. I was okay. But I think what was what was interesting, I was talking to a security guard, he's black, and he was like, um, he said, why do you have your guard up? And I was like, because I don't know these people. Like I'm out here walking, I gotta be able to protect myself. His legit response, you're black, ain't nothing gonna happen to you. Sir,
That's what everybody is. Everything is happening to anyway.
sir, you are a whole black man. I don't even know what okay.
Popo child. Like it depends on what he defines as anything. Like anything happening to you.
Yeah. Cause
Um,
first he asked if he thought I was gonna get jacked, and I was like, I don't know.
it's on the table. I don't know
But
this
I but
space.
I don't know this area. Like I got to be able to protect myself if something happens. He was like, "Oh, ain't nothing gonna happen to you. You black." He's like, "They ain't gonna mess with us." Like what?
Now is that wishful thinking, or has he set out like a disclaimer to the entire area to tell them like, "Hey, don't mess with us. We black."
Right. I'm just like, I don't know how many of us you see walking in this area who looks like we live here. Um, no, I'm not even willing to take that chance. I'm not dropping my guard. But
Appreciate your enthusiasm,
I don't know why
but
you have a vote of confidence for me in this space, but okay.
I'm gonna keep this going for now. Appreciate the input.
Yeah, but that's what I want to do. That's kind of where I'm headed in this space, and I'm just excited to keep doing it. Like every day when when the sun is out, or when it's not 30 degrees, I get to just, walk to wherever, find a new place to go, even if it's just a walk around the city and coming back. Like just being able to be out, or being able to go to the shoreline and just standing by the water.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the best. But yeah, I'm anticipating that I'm going to be having a lot more of these types of like, oh, you guys should still come.
I love it.
But yeah, I thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Like I was really nervous, and I know that for those who listened to last week, to the week before's episode with Kayla, um, y'all know that I was really concerned about trying to um, keep the show going and things like that. Well, Jason has so graciously stepped up to help like hold me accountable.
Accountability partners.
And so you'll be seeing a lot more of him. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You thought
But I
you'd
really
escaped me.
want to I want to hear more from you all. Like whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or if you email us, take a safe pod at championsofdiscourse.com. If you want to let us know how you're embracing your now, or what goals you're looking forward to in the future. I think I said Twitter. Did I say Twitter? If I didn't say Twitter, also Twitter.
I think so.
Um, how are you embracing your goals for the future? How are you owning that space? And if you have to deal with like that double consciousness, or that imposter syndrome, or that feeling of being out of place because you feel like you're not worthy to take up that space, how do you deal with that? Or what are some things that you have learned when you've had to deal with that, and how do you really combat those thoughts? I'm interested in hearing how you deal with that. So let us know in the comments. Send me an email. I might read it on the show if you want me to, but if you want it to remain private, it'll just be between me and you. Thank you so much, Jason, for being on the show.
I'm gonna go write you an email.
Oh,
Dear
gosh.
Leah,
Every time I hear it, dear
here
Mr. Royal Hampton, I am a white woman in America. And yes, that is from White Chicks.
I
I don't
always
know.
think of all that was like, dear Ashley, that's
That's
me.
me. Oh my gosh.
Memories.
Oh, my childhood. Um,
Yes.
but Jason, please let people know how they can follow you.
Instagram, Twitter, JJ underscore Newberry.
Oh, we're not the underdish.
Yeah, we gave that up. The underdash is
Yeah.
so 2020.
Yes, please make sure that you go follow Jason, JJ underscore Newberry, Twitter and Instagram. And make sure that you support us at Take a Space Pod. Let's take up space, POD, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And let us know. I'm interested in knowing how people deal with imposter syndrome. Or do you always have confidence, like regardless of whatever space you're in? Because I want to know how to borrow some of that confidence too. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Bye.